Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vaughn Marie Moniz. I am the owner and event planner of Lovely Events by Vaughn, where we help you keep calm, stay lovely, and party on. So today we're talking about wedding budgets and how to prioritize. Alrighty, so just give me a few moments here to go ahead and share this to my personal page. While I'm doing that, just let me know you're here if you're watching. And let's see if Facebook cooperates with me today. So how is the weather wherever you guys are today? It's raining. It's been on and off, but right now it's currently raining. So, but that's okay. I love the rain. As long as it's not snow, that's all that matters. All right. Come on up, Facebook or laptop, whichever one it is. So anyone out there getting married, let me know. Make sure that you comment in the section, in the comment section below. Let me know if you have any questions. Setting a budget for your wedding can be overwhelming, like anything else revolving an event planning. But there are ways to go around it, and there are ways to stay within budget. So let's see. Here we go. Share to timeline. Okay, there we go. That took me longer than I wanted. Anyway, so welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in. So first things first, some budget considerations, some things that you have to think about is who's paying, the size of your guest list, the setting, like the wedding setting, the location, things like that, the date and time that you're doing the wedding, because that does matter, believe it or not. It will make your wedding more expensive or less expensive depending on the date and the time. The wedding style, so the theme, decor, things like that, and how much you actually need. So what things can you do without, what things you are just doing to splurge, things like that. So setting a budget, like I said, is it can be overwhelming, but it is very important and something that needs to be done, and it needs to be done with the two of you, so it's not just the bride or the groom. It has to be the two of you. You have to, whether you think you might not need a budget because, if it's a big wedding or a small wedding, if someone else is paying for it, you still need a budget to go off of because it keeps you under control. It's less overspending and unnecessary things, because even if you have a huge budget or, no limit, there's very few of us out there that have no limit as a budget, but there are some of us that do. So even if you have an unlimited budget, you still kind of need to set a budget and then just revisit later on, if you want to splurge a little bit more. So always important to have a budget. So the first thing you want to do is sit down with your fiance and do some research on how much weddings cost around in your local area or wherever you're planning to get married. So I would look through the venues, photographers, caterers, things like that. So to just kind of get a general idea. You're not booking anything. You're not really choosing your vendor at that moment, but you're just kind of looking to see what the average cost is. And after you've done your research, then you can set your budget. And the only reason why I say do your research and then set the budget is because if you're starting off with something like you want to only spend $5,000, but the average cost of a wedding in your area or where the location is about $10,000, then you're gonna have to either really scale down on what you want to have in the wedding, or you're just gonna have to up. If you can afford it, then you might need to increase the budget. And you don't necessarily have to do that. There's things that you can do. You can either work your butt off at work overtime to pay for that wedding that you want, or you can push it out a little bit longer. Those are your options, but you do have to be a little bit flexible. You want to think about everything that makes up a wedding, right? So you want to think about your venue and your photographer, the caterer, ceremony sites, and things like that. And then you're still sitting down with your fiance. Make sure that you're writing 2 separate lists. So on your list and on his or her list, it's going to be, what is most important. And then go from 1 to 9, just kind of go it, do it that way. And then you want to compare your list and see where you match up, where you don't. So this is where compromising and being a little flexible comes in handy, because if, your dress is at the top of your list, I'm just saying, if, hey, Ashley, oh, good, you're watching. Yes, we're going to be working on this. So yes, very true. It's very tough. But if your wedding dress is at the top of your list and then he has food at the top of his list, then you have to kind of, so just write a third list and one that you both agree on, and then kind of go off of based off that. So, but if you need something to go off of, usually, how it goes with the percentages, usually the reception site is going to be about 48% of your budget. The photographer is going to be about 12. Your attire, including gowns and things like that, that's going to be about 10. Flowers about 8. Music about 8. Gifts, rings, and ceremony about 3% each. The transportation about 2%, and then I always say to leave about 5% for just in case items. You never know if something goes wrong or anything, but that's kind of what you're looking at. But it is important, once you are building that third list of the 2 of you list, what's important to both of you, it is important to kind of compromise and, be flexible in certain areas. And then, you decide whether you want to increase the budget, or if you want to keep it that way and just work your tushes off, or whether you're going to push it out a little bit, and you're still in the very beginning stage of your planning, I would assume. So, I would hope, because you got to set a budget before you set a date. Then, no one's going to know. No one has to know if you're pushing it out 2 years. And if so, so what? It's your wedding. Whatever. You do as you please. But yes, so that's another important thing. You want to think about where you can save. So this is another place where the list becomes handy, because you can start at the bottom of the priority list. So think about scaling down on centerpieces or cutting the guest list, which is very hard, but something that will help, because if you cut the guest list, then you cut down on the plate. So, that's like $40, depending on where you're going. I mean, some plates can be very expensive, plate of food, and that's just for a plate of food that you're paying. So, this is where you kind of start thinking. Maybe invest in a smaller cake, or there's some other ways that you can do the cake. So, there's multiple ways. You can do cupcakes, you can do a faux cake, anything, So that's one way. You want to write everything down. And I mean everything, because it keeps you accountable. So I usually write when I'm doing anything regarding, actually anything in life, but especially the business, I always make sure that I write down my exact thought when I'm changing something, especially when it comes to prices, because sometimes you just need to remember where you were in that state of mind when you were changing things around, and just eat it so it doesn't confuse you in the future. So it's like, okay, why did I do that? You don't have to really think about it, because you wrote exactly what you were thinking. So I'm a big writer, so anything I think you should write, but it helps, especially when you're doing your budgeting. Make sure that you're staying organized. Like everything else, it's very important. You need to make sure that you're keeping your lists in a binder or folder, wherever you're keeping your wedding items. Make sure that you have your vendor contracts, because if anything sounds a little fishy, or like if they're trying to change something up and it wasn't in the contract, then you can bring that up. Make sure that you're holding on to the packages, like the package list of what everything includes, and ask, if you're going to see a vendor, ask for different options. So, let them know what your budget is, and a good vendor will work with you on your budget. So if your venue is usually, $5,000, but it includes all these other things, like, the outdoor gazebo where you can get married or things like that, then ask the vendor where you can take things out, the venue. Can I get married inside? Is that going to cut costs? Can I do this on my own? Will it cut costs? So make sure that you're asking the questions. And then it's okay to ask for help. After all of this, if you're still overwhelmed, it's totally fine to ask for help, whether it's with planning or even your family. Don't be afraid to ask them, hey, do you mind if you can, especially like your parents or sister or close relative, hey, do you mind if you can pay for, the photography or, the photo booth? I really want the photo booth. Can you maybe gift that to me? It's okay. No one's gonna say no. And if they do, it's because they're broke. So, we're all broke, so it's okay. But yes, so I hope you found this useful. I do have the template that I can send out. So if you need anything like that, the budget plan, anything like that, you can hire an event planner just to budget, to keep track of all the spending and all of that. That's another option too. So don't worry. Don't think that you have to do it all on your own. It's totally fine. There is help out there. So thank you so much for tuning in. We talked about wedding budgets and how to prioritize. Bye, Ashley. Have a good day at school. So yes, if you have any tips of your own, any tricks, suggestions, please let me know in the comment below, and I would really appreciate it, and someone else might appreciate it too. So thanks, guys. I will see you later. Bye.